Scottie Barnes and Malachi Flynn went absolutely nuclear in a Pro-Am game in Toronto, and I'm going to break down all of the highlights and my takeaways from that game, because looking at the footage, it looks like Malachi Flynn may have taken a major step forward coming into this season. Additionally, we got a really weird update surrounding Jalen Harris, obviously former Toronto Raptor, who's just reinstated by the NBA, and what his potential future could look like for this team. So I'll dive into all the latest news on that front and a whole bunch more in this video. So without further ado, let's dive straight into it. Hello everybody, Ben Rogers here, the Raptors side, just breaking down the latest Toronto Raptors news. And folks, we're making our way to our new goal of 26,000 subscribers. So if you want to stay up to date on all the latest Toronto Raptors news and have fun along the way, definitely hit that subscribe button. I'd mean the world to me. But we got to dive into some of that Toronto Raptors news. And the first thing we're talking about is breaking down some highlight footage from a Toronto Pro-Am game where Malachi Flynn and Scottie Barnes absolutely exploded. They went off. They played extremely well. Malachi Flynn had 54 points. Scottie Barnes had 34 himself, combining for 88 points, which I know it's a Pro-Am game. I know a lot of people don't like to react too much for them, and I get it. I react to them, but you can't draw too many takeaways from it. But just looking at how the two guys are playing, I have some interesting insights I want to dig into. But let's break down the highlights first. Let's show them up there on the screen. Malachi Flynn, the video cut off there, but fade away three into the crowd. You love to see that. You know, some step backs, threes. You know, pretty good contest there from I'm assuming the not pros but the amateurs that they're facing off against. Like the crowd's getting hyped. Transition pull up three, Kyle Lowry-esque off the glass. I guess you know, if you're banking it, that's a little bit tough, but you know, shooter's touch, I guess. Driving the lane, making a nice little finish there. Malachi Flynn always has those nice finger rolls when he's driving in. There's floaters also pretty nice when the confidence is going down, and popping some corner threes. You know, you love to see that there. You know, most of these footage are coming from Malachi Flynn to start. You know, the pull-up three, the stroke game is looking, it's looking solid. It's looking solid. But this is the juicy highlights. You know, Scottie Barnes pulling from nearly the free throw line. Dunk it down. He had a lot more room. He could easily take it off from the free throw line. But look at that Euro step from Scottie Barnes. Looking Giannis-esque. This is why the comparisons are always made between Scottie Barnes and Giannis. It's not because we were pushing for Giannis Antetokounmpo to come to the Raptors in 2021 for essentially this entire channel's existence. And then you obviously signed that Supermax with the Milwaukee Bucks. But it looks like we did end up getting Giannis in 2021 because that's when we drafted Scottie Barnes, and my God, he is looking solid. But we've gushed about Scottie Barnes this entire offseason. You can literally look at pretty well half our videos this entire summer. I don't want to overdo the overstep. I've been overstepping the hype for Scottie Barnes. I'm riding that hype train for Scottie, but Malachi Flynn is a guy that I want to sort of dive into. And you saw the highlights there. Obviously, a big struggle for Malachi Flynn over the course of this previous season, right? And, you know, times during his rookie year, he probably had more opportunities and stuff to rock out during that Tampa Tank season, but he gets thrown and inserted into the game, and while he clearly has a good handle, he clearly can defend players that are around his size. He's not going to be switchable like most of this Toronto Raptors roster. You're not asking Malachi Flynn, but I think to guard small forwards or anyone taller. However, I think he is a solid defender for the guard position. Right? We know he has those intangibles. He runs the pick and roll really well, even though the Raptors don't really run those types of actions on a consistent basis. But the biggest issue with Malachi Flynn is his offense just seems to struggle coming in. And that's difficult for an on-ball point guard to come in and really get your game going and do all this sort of stuff. But for a 6 foot guard, shooting 33% from the three-point line is just unacceptable. It's impossible for Nick Nurse to sort of keep him onto the court at that point when he's not doing anything else at an extremely high level, right? When he's not having a Russell Westbrook athleticism or Rajon Rondo elite playmaking ability, right? When you don't have, you know, all-star caliber abilities in different areas, you need to be able to shoot that three-point shot as a smaller guard in the league. So his three-point shooting percentage, even though the stroke has always looked nice, has kept him from really getting that opportunity for Nick Nurse. Everyone memes about keeping him in the Nick Nursery that people have been saying. But if Malachi Flynn, obviously looking at these highlights, looking at him explode for Pro-Am game after Pro-Am game this summer, had a 70-point game earlier this season, all that sort of stuff. If he can shoot the ball like he's shooting in that highlight film, the fact that the rest of his game is very well rounded, the fact that he has those other intangibles already, cooked into his bag, he's going to get on the court this season. I think there's, unless Delano Banton, Doughton, all these guys can sort of, do something crazy during training camp, do something crazy during the season, take those leaps that maybe we're hoping for Delano Banton, right? Malachi Flynn can knock down that three-point shot. We need those three-point shooters, those creators off the bench. So here's hoping Malachi Flynn can transition those step-back threes he was taking in that game, those dribble pull-up transition threes, and knock them down on a consistent basis for the Raptors as a backup guard this upcoming year. Nick Nurse has even said this is a big year for Flynn, so we'll see how it all shakes out. But shout out to Malachi Flynn, potentially taking that step, clearly working on his game this summer. But the next thing we're diving into is a very strange Jalen Harris update, right? And I'll, for some people who don't know who Jalen Harris is, seeing his name pop around all the Raptors news aggregators and YouTube channels and whatever you're looking for, Twitter, whatever, Twitters. But Jalen Harris obviously played for the Toronto Raptors just 2 seasons, not this previous season, the season prior. He was a Raptors rookie. He was drafted in the second round, and then he ended up essentially being suspended for a year due to banned substances he took. Now, apparently he denied that he had any knowledge that he took a banned substance, but I digress. He's been reinstated by the NBA, and the Raptors could potentially bring him back in. Now, there's a huge logjam at the bottom of the Toronto Raptors roster, so it's making Raptors fans question, right? Should the Raptors be able to bring him in? Should they cut someone, to bring in a Jalen Harris type player, right? We just broke down in a previous video that some Raptors players, including Scottie Barnes, think Jarrett Culver's already signed to the team. So that's another guy that plays the exact same position as Jalen Harris. But there are guys on the roster, specifically a Sfima Hyluk, Fiji water, sipping on that Fiji water that people think the Raptors should just cut in order to bring in a guy like Jalen Harris or Jarrett Culver. But that's a debate we've been talking about this entire summer. The weird update was that Blake Murphy came out yesterday and essentially gave us a paperwork note. Do you know your usual update? Nothing too controversial, nothing that gets anyone excited, but saying the Raptors did tender Jalen Harris a 2-way qualifying offer earlier this season. So he's officially a restricted free agent once again, because Jalen Harris, he was a guy on one of those 2-way deals a couple seasons ago. And then if you tender that offer, if you give him that sort of restricted free agent, tender the offer, he is under your team's umbrella, right? So if another team offers him a contract, if he's looking to play somewhere else, the Raptors now have the ability to match that contract, according to this report from Blake Murphy. And this is what a lot of Raptors fans sort of expected, and there's a lot of speculation that the Toronto Raptors might be making a move, regardless if it's for Kevin Durant, for Donovan Mitchell, but that's why they haven't signed Christian Koloko just yet. That's why people say they have Jarrett Culver in the wings just in case roster positions open up, right? There's all this drama happening in the background for this Raptors team, so it only makes sense, the restricted free agency, for them to tender this offer. But now, this is where things are getting weird on the Jalen Harris front, because as you can see, this is a tweet coming from Blake Murphy, and I didn't screen grab, but if you click that link, if you look at Blake Murphy's profile, this tweet ends up being nowhere to be seen. Now, I captured this news yesterday. It was up pretty well the entire day yesterday, and it seems like something minor enough that why would Blake Murphy be deleting it? What's going on there? But the tweet has been deleted. Obviously, Blake Murphy's an insider for the Toronto Raptors, so maybe we are just letting Jalen Harris walk. Maybe Masai Ujiri has something weird going on with the deep bench. He doesn't want any information going out about it, just like Jarrett Culver not being talked about, not being discussed by any official reporters, official, NBA league insiders, but players sort of let it slip that they think he's already on the roster. So it's a very weird situation what's happening at the bottom of the Raptors bench right now. It's difficult to put all the pieces together when we don't really know what's happening with all the trade dominoes that could potentially fall before training camp hits, without our rookie being signed, who's definitely going to be on the roster this upcoming season. It's a very weird and developing situation. So this is another addition to the weirdness that a report came out that we're giving him a restricted free agent sort of offer. We tendered the contract, and now it's sort of rescinded by the reporter that put it out. It's something minor. That's not something that's crazy to happen. So let me know what you guys think. Masai Ujiri's cooking up there for the Toronto Raptors, because it does seem like there's a little bit of a hole in terms of that backup position. Malachi Flynn can't fill it. right? To have a guard that can come off the bench and get you some buckets. Now, I use that point to segue into something a few Raptors fans have been calling for, and it involves a player on the Cleveland Cavaliers named Colin Sexton. And I just titled this chapter, "No, the Raptors should not target Colin Sexton," and that's because he's getting a weird contract. And I'll give my analysis. Essentially, what the news update is that the Cavaliers have not been able to come to an agreement for a contract that they feel comfortable giving Colin Sexton to come back to Cleveland. They essentially don't want him back. They brought back Ricky Rubio after they traded him. They thought he was a lot better fit with their backcourt of Darius Garland, their front court of Lauri Markkanen, Jared Allen, Evan Mobley. They also have Isaac Okoro. They just like Ricky Rubio in that position a lot more than Colin Sexton. And, Sexton got injured last season as well. He was expecting a big deal. There was a bunch of rumors this entire year about him potentially being traded for the Cleveland Cavaliers. And now, since they haven't been able to come to an agreement with a signing, he's on the market. The Cavs are looking to sign and trade him to another team. And a few Raptors fans have questioned, okay, maybe we could use a scoring guard off the bench. He's not the greatest of shooters, but he can certainly slash and get us buckets and be a spark plug off there. But looking at the contract he's sort of expecting, looking at everything that we just currently have going on with our roster, he's not the greatest defender. I just don't want to bother with bringing in Colin Sexton. I like our younger guys that are on more team-friendly deals rather than going after a guy from Cleveland. But let me know if I'm crazy for not wanting to probably buy low. Probably buy the lowest he'll ever be, potentially, on a Colin Sexton. So that's just wanted to make my take known on that. And the final thing is that the number of Toronto Raptors nationally televised games has been revealed. It's been put out. It's been out there publicly now on the webs. Just every single team. It's on this graph here. Clearly, the Golden State Warriors, Lakers, they're going to be at the top. The Celtics, the Bucks, the Bucks are former champions. The Celtics made the finals this most recent year. Some bigger markets there were like the Sixers, the Knicks are up there, the exciting Grizzlies, the Clippers, all that sort of stuff. And at the bottom right, you see the Toronto Raptors. At the bottom right third, right, with about 5 nationally televised games. The Raptors are just behind the Cleveland Cavaliers in terms of nationally televised games. And honestly, I could care less. The Raptors, we're nationally televised in Canada every single game. So no other team can say that. Even the championship Golden State Warriors only get 30 nationally televised games. We get 82 in the Great White North of Canada. So that's how I'm looking at it. But do you think the Raptors are being disrespected? Do you think they're, because I would argue we're a more exciting team than what? Hey, the Knicks are just going to get views and all that sort of stuff. The Nuggets, I guess there's some interesting teams going ahead, but we're more interesting. The Cavs, the Hawks, but big names and all that sort of stuff. It is what it is. I'm not here complaining, but I know a lot of Raptors fans feel a type of way when we don't get that respect from the national media, but it is what it is. You guys are the best for making it this far. Check out the Instagram, the TikTok, the Twitter, all that cool stuff. Anyways, enough of me rambling. You guys are the best. I'm signing out. Cheers.